This is episode 12 of Away, a podcast for anyone interested in a secular approach to 12-step recovery. I'm your host, Steph Roberts. Hello. That was my dog. She is barking in response to the tone of my voice when I say hello. It is 10 o'clock or there around on Saturday evening, January 12th, 2019. And I'm oddly excited to finish up Into Action, Chapter 6, jumping right into page 82, middle of the page. Sometimes we hear an alcoholic say that the only thing he needs to do is to keep sober. Certainly he must keep sober, for there will be no home if he doesn't. Jump down. The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken, sweet relationships are dead, affections have been uprooted, selfishness and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. We feel a man is unthinking when he says that sobriety is enough. Okay, so yes, there is work to be done and reparations to be made, but I just need to say this almost as an aside. They do not all need to be made in 90 days or even a year. This is project life. Time, growth, maturity are all important and necessary. So I like to suggest with 8 and 9 that you start by making 3 lists. List 1, people to whom you will 100% apologize so long as it won't hurt them. You want to. It is meaningful. It is genuine. Perhaps you know with certainty that they played no part in it. You have no resentment towards them. It's an apology you know you owe. List 2, people to whom you know you owe an apology and you will probably make in time, but you do need some time. So that may be people who also played a part in it clearly and who you're not entirely willing to forgive yet, or you can't accept that they deserve the apology. So it's a list of not now. I'm likely to do it, but not right now. I'll probably do it, but definitely not right now. And list 3, nope, never, I hate them, no. That's your starting point for 8. Then you go into step 9 with your nice, neat list of people you can make apologies to right now. These are the things I can do right now. These are the things I will do right now, so long as they will not harm the other person. It is my opinion that motives really matter. So it isn't just about how you phrase the apology. It's about the authenticity of the apology. Knowing that you may not get the response you want or think you deserve. while these apologies are meant in many ways selfishly in order for us to stay sober, in my experience, if they're made for that reason alone, it's saying them and meaning them and being willing to change the attitudes or behaviors that led you to those wrongdoings in the first place. When you're done with that first list, move on to the second list. And perhaps by this point, some of the people on the second list, because of your experiences perhaps with making amends from the first list, are now definites, are now yeses, are now I want to do it now, are now I'm willing to let go of my resentment for that person and make a genuine apology. And by the time you're through that list, you never know. There may be people on the absolutely not list to whom you're willing to make some kind of amends or apology. Sometimes that amends is something you hear people call a living amends, which, while it is not something that appears in the big book, is, in my opinion, a very real thing. So if there is someone to whom you will never make an apology, but you know in some ways it's owed because you did play a part in the problem, or someone you may never see again, someone who has passed away, someone who will never come back to you as a friend. By examining your side of things and the behaviors or attitudes that led to the misunderstanding or wrongdoing or mistake, you can change them, and you can never treat another person that way, or make an effort never to treat another person that way. Never to behave in the way you behaved that was the reason you needed to make an apology. So in my case, a good example would be my father. He died when I was still fully immersed in my alcoholism, and in some ways just beginning the most serious phases of it. And I was young, so still very selfish and self-centered in what I think would be a normal way for a 19, 20-year-old, but combined with the alcohol was excessive. And I numbed a lot of the feelings about both my behavior and his death for a long time with alcohol. And when I got sober, of course, I felt guilt, shame, and remorse over that, over the end of his life and my treatment of him. And I wished, as many people do, that I could go back in time and improve that. And since that's not possible, the thing I can do is behave in those ways with my mother as she gets older. I can treat her with more respect. It's not always genuine. She is, pretty annoying sometimes. But I don't want to feel the same way I felt when I lost my father. So I need to set aside some of my criticisms of her and make an effort to do the things I wish I had done with him. And because I have more experience and wisdom, I understand that now. So that is not just sobriety. Sobriety gave me the clarity, which gave me the self-awareness to make this decision for myself. So think of this as like 6 and 7 kind of laid a foundation for this, because they opened you up. That's where you were chipping away at those pesky defects one at a time, if you're doing it. And nothing worthwhile is achieved overnight. Every success takes time. Small steps, tortoise and the hare. Set small, achievable goals for lasting success. That's trite, but it's true. I don't know a single self-help guru anywhere who doesn't say as much. I think Jordan Peterson says, in order to really change, you may make a list of the things you want to change and then just choose one that you can change, and you can change right now, and work on that. And then go to the next. So that's the same with, in my opinion, 6 and 7, and then 8 and 9. And 4 and 5. A lot of these steps sort of are coupled. And one sets up a foundation for the next. And while I know it works for some people to do it all in one haul, the truth about the steps, the real core of them, is sort of building a foundation for what is in the end a lifelong project. A lot of these ideas should be ones you take with you through life. So I often hear, especially the sort of God-heavy people, talk about, like, I did it, I'm done. I did 4 and 5, I'm done. I did 6 and 7, I'm done. These steps are, for all intents and purposes, teaching you how to think in ways that perhaps you didn't use before, or you had learned and known but had forgotten in the midst of the addiction. They're helping you to find or develop your moral compass. So to just say I did the work isn't really, in my opinion, that isn't the deal. I mean, this builds a foundation, but you're meant to practice these principles in all your affairs. So it's a constant practice. It's not a hard constant practice. It's not a negative one. It continues to consistently brings more joy into your life. Page 83. I think the most important sentence, oddly, is the spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. That's right. I agree with that. This is work, work, and more work. Not always hard work, but always satisfying work. For us, the atheists, agnostics, people struggling with religion, people who just want to view this a different way, the spiritual life is the life of the mind. Your intellect, your empathy, your nurturing, the good within you, and therefore your ability to contribute more good to the world. Contribute. That's not a passive word. We have to live it. We have to think these things, but we also have to be these things. Bottom of page 83 is the beginning of what you'll hear people call the promises. And I kind of love them. Although, again, the way they're written is a little florid. They are very beautiful. So let's read them together. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. So most of these promises have come true for me. But let me point out again, these promises came true not because God did it for me, but because I did it. I did it with the help of many other people, but I did it. New habits tend to stick when we give ourselves a pat on the back. Google it. Positive reinforcement is for real. But let's take the promises one at a time. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. New freedom is simple. We're free from alcohol and drugs, and we're free from the cycle, being stuck in the vicious cycle of them. A new happiness, that's a very broad idea. So happiness in your life may look very different from happiness in my life. I craved order and serenity. And those are things that, as of now, I have achieved. And I think with practice, will continue to improve upon. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. I really like this one, although I would say it's not that we won't regret it, but that we won't wallow around in that regret. So that's great. I don't love the wording, we will not regret, but we will not obsess about regret. Instead, we'll move on and we'll make changes in our behavior and attitudes in order not to feel it again. And we won't wish to shut the door on the past. So that is kind of what I'm saying. We don't need to be in a constant state of self-punishment, but we also should not forget. And part of not forgetting in AA, which is the brilliance of it, is that you get to take that regret, that shame, those shameful decisions and bad behavior, and actually use them to help others. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. The phrasing there matters. We will comprehend the word serenity. Doesn't mean we'll have it immediately or have it all the time, but we'll know what it means to feel serene, and we may therefore look for it. We may want to ultimately put an end to chaos, though I will say when chaos is what you've known your whole life, this promise can be a little slower. I can almost promise it'll come true for almost everyone, because if you add other tools to the toolbox and use things not just 12-step related, there are many more solutions out there in the quest for, if not constant serenity, some moments. And we will know peace. We do learn what it feels like to feel at peace. That is to feel at ease in our own skin, to feel some calm and contentedness in our lives. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see our experience can benefit others. And again, that's just using your story, your shameful behaviors, your bad choices, whatever it is, your mental illnesses, any experience, your divorce, your child rearing, whatever it is, there's someone in that room in AA or anywhere who would benefit from hearing your experience. That does not mean giving instruction, making the suggestion, as we like to do in AA, just by sharing your own experience. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Those feelings disappearing is incumbent upon the honesty and sharing of your own experience, in my experience. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. I would reword this because it's our attitudes will change about selfish things. Our definition of selfish will change. Hopefully, it will lose some of its negative connotation and come to mean the most important things that are or appear to be selfish are things like self-care, putting the oxygen mask on myself first. And this allows me to gain more interest in my fellows because I'm not obsessing about perhaps my shame, perhaps my addiction, perhaps the bags and shoes and clothes I need to cover up how I'm really feeling inside. So we'll change our attitude. We'll change the definition of selfish, which will lead us to gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Most of my self-seeking was in order to drink and party the way I wanted to. So I told lies to that end, that sort of thing. And that definitely stopped. I didn't stop putting myself first, though, so I don't think we should read that sentence this way. But I put myself first, not only for myself, but so that I could be a better citizen of the world. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. I really have found that to be true. And that is, to me, the spiritual experience. Unless you are suffering with untreated depression, unless you are suffering with another mental illness that you have not yet dealt with, in my experience, your attitude about life will change. You will want to experience more of it. You will want to be more a part of it. You will be more upbeat and positive. For some people, that happens immediately. For some, not so much. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. You may not be someone who feared other people, except perhaps the ones you lied to. You won't need to fear them anymore. So that kind of very real fear will leave. But also if you're someone who suffers with a lot of anxiety, hopefully sobriety brings you clarity, which brings you to the other doctors or tools you need to work on the anxiety. Economic insecurity, I think it's pretty natural to have a fear of economic insecurity. None of us, I don't think, just sort of are never worried about that. But it's not worried in the same way, and you're certainly not worried about not having enough in your paycheck because you have to buy booze or drugs. This is my favorite one, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. So this is really our lead-in to steps 10, 11, and 12. You've done all these steps that have helped you put new behaviors and attitudes in place. This is why I don't think that you have to do a daily inventory in step 10 forever. It may be incredibly helpful in the beginning to set down this pattern. But these things become second nature, and then they become nature. So that's what this sentence means to me. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. But that happens with time. So moving down the page, 84. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. So that's what you always hear, practice these principles in all your affairs. And it's also, to me, pretty clearly saying that you don't need to do a step 4 and 5 again, because this is something that after you've gone through the steps 1 through 9, should now become something pretty natural to you. And again, it may behoove you to do a step 10, a more formal step 10 at the end of every day in the beginning, just to sort of review your day and see, is there somewhere I could have been better behaved? Is there anything I did in my day that makes me uncomfortable? Did I hurt anyone? Could I have handled the situation better? That sort of thing. I've found that over time that just becomes natural, in that I don't treat people badly anymore. I am kind. I am generous. As long as I am in a whole and healthy place, it is easy and natural to help others and just to be a better person in the world as a whole. Page 85, middle of the page. It's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. Anyway, I would say instead, ask yourself each day, what can I do for myself and for others today that will make my day and their days better and brighter? And then also asking, am I okay? Do I need a rest? Do I need to talk to someone? It's little things like that that matter. Step 11, bottom of the page of page 85. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others? Of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken. So this is really, to me, steps 10 into 11. The basic idea is to spend some time reflecting on our behavior, because that is one of the best ways to change it. If we insist on ignoring our defects, then we won't change. And while being sober is great without anything else, it's way better when we continue to grow and try to be better people. I promise. So maybe instead of praying at night or in the morning, just take a minute, write everything down. Call your sponsor or a friend. Take a long hot bath and think as objectively as possible about the day. Is there anything that makes you feel uncomfortable? Again, your own actions or the actions of others. Did someone else behave in a way you don't like? Is it something you can talk to him or her about? Say what you mean, but don't say it mean. Did someone behave in a way you do like? Maybe you'd like to emulate. Did someone do something you vehemently hate? And are you sure you don't do that too? So this is what many of us call mindfulness, which is very similar to prayer or a practice of meditation. It is taking time to think about our responses, our reactions. And while a review at the end of the day, as I have said, can be very helpful, I don't think it's necessary forever, because this mindfulness goes from being its own practice in a set-aside time to being something you can bring up and recall in life. This is the same for meditation. A practice of meditation is not just about the time spent being quiet, but it is about being able to access that same feeling that you get when you meditate in your day-to-day life. Page 87, what used to be a hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a part of the working mind. So that's exactly what I've been saying. You won't always need to do a formal end of day review. It will all become natural with time. Give yourself a break, one day at a time. Mistakes and failures will happen. None of them need to or should lead to a drink. We usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step is to be, that we be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. I'm all for taking a moment, a period of meditation, a period to journal, to review, even just in your head. We have everything we need to take care of such problems. At this point in sobriety, we can rely on most of our own judgments. And as I've said before, for very big decisions, we now have a network of people in AA and out of AA who we can go to for opinions to understand their experiences with similar situations. And the last page of Into Action, page 88, the last paragraph, we alcoholics are undisciplined, so we let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined. But this is not all. There is action and more action. Faith without works is dead. The next chapter is entirely devoted to step 12. So, a little bothers me here. I'm not undisciplined. I couldn't stop drinking alone, but I'm actually an incredibly disciplined person when I'm not drinking. So that required really nothing more than stopping the booze, really. Once the fog cleared, once the clarity came, discipline came with it. So willpower came with it. Once I take the first drink out of the picture, I have a lot of discipline, and I think that many people I know do too. I learned that with the help of others, I can stop drinking. I learned to lay a foundation for my life, and then I discovered discipline that already existed within me, and I was able to use it to make other changes. My husband said once, and I will take this with me to the crematorium, step 12 is the real work. The other steps are not the work, they're the foundation so that you can do the work in the end, right? Now that you've made yourself a bit better, healthier, kinder, now you can help others. And by helping others, you also continue to help yourself. This is pretty basic stuff, centuries old. If we do good things, we're happier. Esteemable acts build self-esteem. Start by giving back to the room. That can mean anything from making coffee to sponsoring, but you don't have to do it all. So we will move on and delve into Chapter 7, Working with Others, Step 12, in the next episode. I certainly hope you enjoyed something in this one, got something out of it, and I hope that it helps you to remember that no matter what, there is a way.